The National Testing Agency, NDA, today announced a retest for the 1,563 candidates who were awarded grace marks due to loss of exam time in the midst of a controversy over NEET UG results that were declared on the 4th of June, including allegations of a paper leak. Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan has sought to have clarified some of these allegations. He said that there was no evidence of a paper leak. In fact, the minister's remarks came even as NTA announced that a NEET retest would be conducted for the 1,563 candidates who were given grace marks for loss of time on the exam day. It also said that these grace marks stand withdrawn. As per the decision announced by NTA, the affected candidates will now be given two options, either to accept the score that were originally awarded to them, which is without the grace marks, or reappear for the exam that would be held on the 23rd of June. Now, the May 4th examination conducted by NTA across 4,000 centres for nearly 24 lakh students has been plagued by accusations of question paper leaks and also awarding of questionable grace marks. Now, these allegations had also sparked protests and legal challenges in several high courts and Supreme Court. But of course, the centre had also put in place a committee that examined all these issues. Now, this issue, of course, has taken a political turn. Congress party on Thursday reiterated its demand of a Supreme Court monitored probe into the NEET examination issue, and it asserted that the anger in the country over this matter will also be heard in the parliament. Now, the opposition parties have also demanded removal of the NTA Director General, and they have claimed that the BJP government's attitude towards handling this issue was irresponsible. Of course, government has responded to this and clarified to this. Let's first listen in to what the Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan said today.
देखो, पेपर लीक की हमारे पास कोई जानकारी नहीं है। मैंने उस रीट पिटीशन को अनुध्यान कराया, कोई भी एक भी जगह पे प्रमाण नहीं है। एक एलिगेशन पेपर लीक हुआ है, कहां है प्रमाण हुआ है? एक दो चीजों की न्यूज आइटम पे अगर प्रमाण आधारित होता है तब कोर्ट उसको विचार करेगी, सरकार अपना पक्ष रखेगी, वो कोर्ट में 8 जुलाई को चर्चा भी होगी। मेरे जितना जानकारी है, नीट एक कॉम्पिटेंट एग्जामिनेशन करने वाला अथॉरिटी बन चुकी है। ये जो 3 प्रेस्टिजियस परीक्षा होते हैं, नीट, जेई और सीयूईटी, इसमें से देश की 50 लाख से ज्यादा स्टूडेंट्स की हर एक साल अभी एग्जामिनेशन हो रहा है। विश्वसनीयता बढ़ी है, इसलिए आने वाले दिनों में सारे प्रकार की शंका संशय को दूर करने के लिए और पारदर्शिता लिया जाएगा, और जो लोग उसमें कहीं ना कहीं एक आधा जगह पे कुछ गड़बड़ी करने का कोशिश कर भी रहे होंगे, उनके ऊपर कार्रवाई भी लिया जाएगा। और सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जो लार्जर प्रश्न सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने है, सरकार अपना मत उसमें से स्पष्ट रखेगी।
Congress MP Gaurav Gogoi is joining us on NDTV to speak about the opposition party, especially the Congress party's concerns with regard to NEET. Thank you, Mr. Gogoi, for speaking to NDTV. You addressed a press conference today in which you said that the way in which the government is addressing the NEET issue is insensitive and irresponsible. Now, the government actually put in place a committee, a high-level committee, which probed this issue. Many people would also say that there has been an option of retest that has been given to students. Why would you say that this approach would be insensitive and irresponsible?
What form of inquiry has the government done before they gave a clean check to itself? What kind of independent inquiry was done? Because the inquiry was done by the NTA, the very same body which has completely misled 24 lakh students who have given up valuable years of the youth to prepare for this all-important NEET exam. There's been lakhs of money which has traded hands. There have been a nexus of exam centers, coaching centers, and definitely officials in the NTA who have leaked these questions. And the education minister, having taken oath only a few days ago, has given them a clean check. I want to know how many parents has he met? How many students has he met? What cognizance has he taken of the issue? What are the findings that this committee has got, and can they make it public? So they are trying to shoot and scoot. They're trying to avoid this issue. I'm glad Rahul Gandhi ji and the Congress party has taken up the issue of NEET exam, because this affects 24 lakh students. It affects the future of the Indian medical fraternity and the lives of our young people. the hard-earned money of their parents, the mental anxiety of these young students cannot be trifled with. They are not simply taking it seriously. And therefore, the Congress party demands that we want a Supreme Court monitor investigation, because this government is not serious about the lives of these students. The Prime Minister gives examination-related advice on the eve of board examinations. Where is he? Why is he quiet? So we felt that this is an important issue. This issue will resonate the chambers of the parliament when the session convenes in a few weeks from now.
So, Mr. Gogoi, you would be raising the issue in the parliament, that's what you're saying, but would you also be meeting protesters and family members? And what kind of work has the party done to understand the scale and the gravity of this problem?
Absolutely. Our representatives have been meeting parents across the country. Over the last few days, our frontal organizations have been organizing even protests across the length and breadth of the country. We are with the students. No other major national parties' students are with the student fraternity, the undergraduate fraternity, as the Congress NSUI is, the National Students Wing is. And I'm glad that Rahul Gandhi ji has raised this issue. And that shows that's the power of democracy, that today, when the ruling party is not being accountable to these people, the opposition, the India Alliance, is standing with them. The ruling party think that they can browbeat these students. The education minister, by giving the NTA clean chit, is literally calling these students and the parents liars. We've got those audio clips where lakhs of money, 30 lakhs of money is being asked for leaking the paper. There has to be a complete overhaul of the NEET examination system, and the education minister, without having done any inquiry, without having met any student or parents, is quick to give a clean chit because he wants to protect the image of the Prime Minister. So nothing has changed. This is the same government which shoots and scoots, which runs and avoids. They stay silent on Galwan, they stay silent on Manipur, they stay silent on Jammu, and now they're staying silent on the NEET exam. No more. Democracy needs to be visible, accountability needs to be tangible, and that's what the opposition party is going to do with the bolstered numbers of the India Alliance.
Mr. Gogoi, also the NTA has said that this matter concerns only 1,536 students, especially in 6 centers. Now, the center has also said that the Congress is politicizing the matter and undermining institutions now, because NTA is also known to be experienced in handling and also holding examinations like JE or, for that matter, CUET.
In a democratic country, Vasudha, the opposition party needs to hold the government accountable and needs to raise the issue of the people. If this is politics, this is what a democratic country has. It has parties speaking up on behalf of the people, especially when the NTA is trying to shoot and scoot and trying to pull wool over our eyes. This is not a matter of simply 1,563 students who got grace marks. This is a matter of how there has been major discrepancies in the entire examination process, with around 67 students scoring 720 out of 720. Many students who are getting marks like 718, 719, which is just not possible under the current framework. Many coaching centers and examination centers having spread this nexus where students are not able to devote time to their regular school or regular studies. They are giving precious hours, they are burning the midnight oil and pleading with the parents to spend more and more of their hard-earned money. So there's an entire nexus which is simply going to take away the brightest and the best of our Indian student fraternity, and we cannot have that. The NTA, by limiting this issue to simply 1,563 students, shows how they know that they're trying to cover something up. Why were the results declared on 4th June? Only because there should be no brouhaha. We should not hear the outcry and the anguish of the students. Everything should be drowned out in the results of the election. That is why the NTA deliberately released the results on 4th June. There has been mismanagement from the bottom to the top. There has been a criminal nexus operating. That is why paper leak featured so prominently in the Congress manifesto. And that is why we will not let the NTA the Education Minister or Prime Minister Modi get away with this flimsy excuse.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gogoi, for speaking to NDTV. That's Gaurav Gogoi, Congress MP, raising not just allegations but also demanding a Supreme Court monitored probe into what really happened with the NEET examination. Also joining me now is Lavanya Balal Jain, spokesperson of the Congress Party. We have Anurag Naidu, political analyst. We also have Advocate Pugal Gandhi, who's a spokesperson of the DMK, and Ashutosh Srivastava, who's a Supreme Court advocate. To you, Anurag Naidu, first, how do you see the NEET controversy play out, sir? Because, you know, at the end of the day, this concerns 24 lakh students, and NTA is an agency that has been holding examinations like JEE and also CUET. You know, some would say that there is also a sense of panic among students, especially with many opposition parties asking for judicial probe. On the other hand, some people would talk about the exam leaks that have been happening. How do you see this issue, particularly because admission process is going to begin in a few days from now? Medical entrances is really critical in this country, and 700 institutions will be looking forward to having over 1 lakh students aspiring doctors.
Very good evening, Vasudha. I'm glad you're one of the anchors who really showed concern about the timeline of admission. That's very critical. When you go on politicizing, you need to have this check on the timeline. No, I'm very glad, Vasudha, that students have voiced their opinion. And I'm speaking here not just in the capacity of an analyst, but I've been a victim in 2008 in my 12th standard in information technology exam, which has to be supposed to be on a computer. I remember it was Maharashtra Knowledge Corporation, some Maharashtra body that used to conduct this in IT examination, which was to be an optional subject in 12th. We all, the batch of students who gave from one center, ended up getting 50 marks. We never got 50 out of 100. We used to, on an average, get around 90-95 in a mock test. So there was a glitch in the technical glitch, and we could not voice our opinion because I come from a tier 2 town, right? So I understand the pain where the students are coming from. But having said that, to completely dismiss or politicize the issue that NTA kharab hai, that is, you know, taking or conducting over 50 lakh examination, right? 50 lakh students appear overall cumulatively. So, as Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan also mentioned, to say that the entire framework is dismissed is jeopardizing or just playing with the emotion of these 24 lakhs people who have appeared for the examination. Why can't, for once, Vasudha, we all talk about having a pragmatic or a practical approach toward an investigation? Now, what are the genuine concern? The genuine concern is a paper leak. The genuine concern is the fact that entire examination, the NEET examination process for this particular academic year should be reinvestigated as a whole. Totally accept it. Totally, celebrate this thought process and totally support it. But what I don't support is politicians jumping into the system. Now, we heard Gaurav Gogoi in your show, Vasudha. He mentioned in the next upcoming parliament session, we are going to take it up. So what is the party essentially saying is, the parliament session is going to happen in some time. We will make sure and we will come to the floor very strongly, heavily, and we will ensure that this entire process is dismissed. As a matter of fact, all these 24 lakh students who have appeared, who are waiting for a verdict or waiting for an answer in this entire matter, would think twice before getting into the admission season, because they need to take admission somewhere so that they can start their academic session starting August. Why can't these political parties represent through the lawyers in the Supreme Court, have some activists, really do some good discussions, end up getting investigation achieved from the Supreme Court, a holistic investigation, which is in mutual interest. So I don't see there is a comprehensive, really genuine interest people are showing towards the student. I really hate this politicizing this entire issue.
Okay, let me go across to Lavanya. Lavanya, you know, this is not just the question of NEET, because in the last 2 years, we have seen at least 40 exam leaks. So I completely agree with the Congress party raising this issue. But what would you have to say about the center's, claim that, there is a certain politicization of this, of NEET, especially happening because NTA here is not like some state authority. It is, it's known to have held examinations in the past. Of course, there could be loopholes. Also, competitive examinations need a rehaul of sorts. We need an alternate model. That's all said. But what do you have to say about possibly, having, an approach which basically believes in dialogue? Or do you think that it's important to get the probe out, understand what went wrong, and then basically decide what's the way forward?
Good evening, Vasudha. NEET has had a lot of allegations leveled against it from day one of the NEET examinations. It was announced. A lot of states have complained and fought against NEET examinations because it puts a lot of students at disadvantage, and it is not a level playing ground for many students. Having said that, this particular instance, when NTA, which has conducted multiple examinations, is not exempt from the allegation that is leveled against it. The allegation is there is somebody within the NTA who must have helped for the leak of papers, right? So you cannot be a body which gives itself, a claim that, hey, you know what, if you are accused, you cannot come out and say, we are not a part of this allegation, right? You cannot,
Yes.
what do I say, give a clean sheet to
Yes.
yourself. That is exactly what is happening right now. And the second accusation is Congress is politicizing it. Let me make it very clear. It is a duty of the opposition party to raise the subject. And if it is affecting the life of 24 lakh students, it is not just about the paper leak. It is about how the marks were awarded to multiple students, and it is not possible in the current framework to be given those marks. That is also a problem. So entire NEET examination that was conducted this time has a lot of loopholes, and all of this must be questioned within the parliament, because education minister who's just taken oath a couple of days back without meeting any of the parents or students has been giving a clean sheet for a lot of people who are accused here, right? Which is not fair. It is a matter of our medical fraternity, which is going to come out in 5 years or 6 years or 7 years. It is a matter of 24 lakh students' lives. So, of course, it is the duty of the opposition parties to speak up about it, especially in the parliament. All we are asking, which is a very reasonable ask, is to have an investigation which is monitored by the Supreme Court. We want justice for these students. It's a matter of their lives. It is not a matter of one single exam. It's a matter of this one single exam dictating the entire life of these students, Vasudha.
Right. Mr. Gandhi, we all know Mr. Anant Krishnan's report. I've reported on education in Chennai, and I agree with parts of it, the emphasis on coaching centers, which needs to be sort of really addressed. But, so this is a national level examination. While DMK has always been opposed to NEET, and also to national competitive examinations, we need some of these examinations, right, to at least ensure that national institutions, government medical colleges have some sense of, parity in terms of questions. And all of that cannot be dependent on state board examinations, which are really focused on, like memorizing and, root theories. So clearly there is some merit to NEET, which, I'm sure you will not agree with that. But what do you have to say about all this controversy that's playing out right now?
First of all, I have a slight disagreement with your statement that these medical colleges are national level institutions, because these are all not national level institutions. These are all state level institutions. Point number one. And as far as the state level institutions are concerned, these state level institutions are created from the funds of the state, not from the funds of the central government. And the purpose of NEET is not clear, very clear, because when we talk about the common entrance examination throughout the world, this type of standalone entrance examinations, which are outside the school education curriculum, are being either scrapped. Even, for example, in the US, SAT is being scrapped now. Many universities like Harvard, Yale, or Columbia are not following the SAT for its admission process, because these entrance examinations are created in the so-called false notion of meritocracy, without even understanding the basic concept of what a school education curriculum stands for. Because when we talk about the education system in the state, we can classify this education system into three. One is primary level, secondary level, and the tertiary level or the graduation level. The primary level and the secondary level are taught at the school level, and the tertiary level or the graduation level or the college level.
Right.
The purpose of primary level is to prepare the student for the secondary level, and the purpose of the secondary level is to prepare the student for the tertiary level or graduation level. Now, what is the purpose of an entrance examination to be brought in, which is outside the school education curriculum? And if that is brought in, that makes the school education just redundant. How the students can do? So the whole system of NEET itself is class biased.
Okay.
It is only meant for rich urbanized students from the upper class people. That is what the opposition which we have. And today's incidence is a very clear incidence that NEET is not sacrosanct. It is also yet another entrance examination which can be breached. So what is so special about it? Just scrap NEET. That is our demand from day one.
Okay, let me ask this question to Mr. Srivastav. Mr. Gandhi is pointing out something very important. This has been the DMK's consistent position that NEET and several nationally competitive examinations focus on some false notions of meritocracy, and they are biased towards people with resources, resources to send their children to coaching centers, also kind of money and also social and political capital and economic capital mainly. And they are sort of biased against rural children, rural students. So that's of course something that we have known. But Mr. Srivastav, how do you see this as a lawyer? Because clearly, like Mr. Gandhi said, NTA does not seem to be sacrosanct. If there are these problems there, how does the country deal with something like this? And what is the impact on young people aspiring, spending 3-4 years on NEET preparation and getting to know that probably some others went ahead of them because some grace marks were awarded to them?
See, so far as this particular issue is concerned, and we know that, it has not happened to the entire 24 lakh of, students who attended the exams. So it happened only on certain, centers which were affected by some wrong question paper and all. And there was loss of time for which certain grace marks were given. However, when the committee was formed, when the issues were raised that these kind of grace marks should not be given, because the other students should not suffer because of that. And accordingly, this committee gave a kind of a report on which this, matter also went to the Supreme Court at present, which is hearing the matter. Supreme Court took the cognizance and sent the notices to the NTA and also to the central government. Now the government has already filed its affidavit, its reply, in which it has also agreed that, okay, there should be a retest, re-examination of these 1,568 students afresh. So what my point here is that it is something which is not required to be politicized as such. Because see, if certain centers have made certain mistakes for which obviously the government is also taking its all sorts of seriousness, so that the other students and even those students who have attended should not suffer and they get equal opportunities. So I'm sure when the matter is before the Supreme Court is going into the details of the entire issue. And so far as the leak of the paper is concerned, there is
okay, Lavanya has a point. Lavanya, you want to come in with a point? Tell me.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody, under the current framework of NEET examination and the rewarding of the marks, it is not possible to get 720 out of 720, and 67 students have received those marks because there is negative marking and everything. So what about that question? Let's not forget, there is also a question mark about the, marks being awarded to some of the students.
Well, so I asked this question to the NTA, and I was at the press conference, and Mr. Kumar, Subodh Kumar, of course, tried to answer the question that you're asking, and he said, there was a normalization process that was followed, and the grace marks were awarded, and relatively easier questions were set this year. So he did have, of course, an answer to that, but go ahead. That also seems to be a discrepancy which probably this committee will have to address.
Thank you. Can I continue?
Yes, please.
Yeah, from the beginning, when we're talking about NEET examinations, I think my counterpart from DMK pointed this out. We seem to be forgetting this year that multiple students have lost their lives in the past years when they failed NEET examinations, and it was because they came from underprivileged backgrounds. It may be because they come from villages or because they come from a region which cannot answer the questions in the language the questions are presented. Right. So it is putting a lot of students at a disadvantage, right, especially students from the states which have a good education index. And like he also pointed out, all of these colleges are state-run colleges. It is not the national resources, all of these colleges. So it is putting the NEET examination itself puts a lot of students at a disadvantage every year. We need to question, first of all, Do we even need
Yes.
NEET? We have to go back to the basic question. Poonam, I'm sorry, Vasudha, and I don't think we should ignore that question as well when these allegations are being raised.
Absolutely. But Lavanya, do you think a retest would be able to solve this problem? Because that would also, like Mr. Anurag Naidu was pointing out, that would also endanger the careers of many aspiring doctors. And Mr. Gandhi, would you also say something on this? Quickly, Lavanya first and then the last word from you.
Yeah, I just would like to say, when we are talking about re-examination, then the question of the entrance examination for the medical college comes up, and we are running short of time, isn't it? We do not have time for the students to prepare for getting into the medical colleges.
Mr. Gandhi, what is the way forward, sir? Because clearly a retest may not be the solution, because there are 24 lakh students who have taken the exam this year, and asking them to wait is also not really fair.
We have been consistent from the beginning. The way forward is to ban NEET or scrap NEET.
Okay.
For example, Tamil Nadu is the most developed state as far as the education is concerned. Our graduate enrollment ratio is 52%, which is double the national average of 27%, and which is much higher than even the United States of America, which is at 46%. And we have got 4 doctors for every 1,000 people, whereas Gujarat is having only 1 doctor for 1,000 people. And they got the maximum number of medical colleges under the government quota, which can educate people from the rural and marginalized section of the society. Now the NEET discriminates it, and the NEET business in Tamil Nadu stands at 5,400 crore rupees.
Right.
That is a business, which means every student who want to opt for NEET have to spend at least rupees 3 to 5 lakh rupees, which cannot be afforded by any
Absolutely. That's a very good point. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me. I'm really sorry, we're really out of time. So even as politics plays out over NEET, one can only hope that political parties think of these issues concerning youth and livelihoods in a more consistent manner. That's all we have for you.